Thanks for the intro. Just before I start, my colleague Mark Cafferkey is here with me as well. So we're going to split up the talk between the two of us. And I'll just kick it off. So that's a rough outline of what I'm going to talk about today, myself and Mark. You know, I'll talk about the market surveillance functions of SEAI. We're the Market Surveillance Authority for Ecodesign, and we're the Market Surveillance Authority for energy labeling of products. Mark will then, I'll give you a bit of the background, how we got set up, what we do. Mark's going to talk about our approach, our priorities, and our activities in the area, how many inspections we've done, what kind of products we've done. And then I'll finish off at the end with a discussion on developments in market surveillance. I'll be talking about the ESPR, which I think is very relevant. And we'll have a little chat at the end about enforcement. But before I go to the next slide, I just wanted to a word to my fellow market surveillance authorized officers. We all pretty much do the same thing. I wanted to echo some of the previous speakers. We don't license products by any means. We don't certify products. We do spot checks on products. We carry out formal compliance checks. We carry out technical compliance checks. We carry out risk assessments. We comply with our statutory obligations, and we use our powers responsibly, and we go where the evidence leads us. So that's just, I just want to echo that because it's a common theme there. And as well, we use ICSMS as well, of course. So SEIA, believe it or not, SEAI, sorry, apologies, a bit of a mouthful, has only been a market surveillance authority since December of last year. However, the authorized officers have been authorized officers for many years, although prior to December 2022, my colleagues were authorized officers under the Department of the Environment. So the authorized officers were carrying out market surveillance, but officially they were working for the Department of the Environment. But now the SEIA is the registered market surveillance authority for Ecodesign energy labeling. So now all our warrants of appointment will be issued under that. We have a little bit of a complicated system in place. I suppose technically we have two parent departments. Construction products have one. So under the banner of energy labeling, and we do a bit of tyre labeling as well, the Department of the Environment is the head department on that. And they handle policy and legislation in that regard. So we deal with them on energy labeling, policy and legislation. On the side of Ecodesign, we deal with the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment on the legislative and policy responsibilities. And they are responsible for legislation on ESPR. I'll talk a bit about that in the end because there's a lot of common themes there between what we do and what the construction products folks do. And as I said, we've really only been a market surveillance authority since December 2022. That said, our authorized officers are doing for many years under the auspices of the Department of Environment. And we basically cover quite a small area. It's essentially only 30 product groups, which is very, very small, although ESPR is going to change that drastically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hand over to Mark. And I said, you know, we're a market surveillance authority. What do we do? You've already heard it already. We publish guidance, we advise stakeholders, we do inspections, we do risk-based screening, we do risk assessments, we do technical documentation checks, we do laboratory testing, we give advice, but we can also do enforcement as well. What it's about, we're here to maintain a level playing field. I'm not sure I heard that in previous presentations. I think one of the, as I said, I've been working in market surveillance for 10 years. One of the big issues as far as the European Commission is concerned, yes, there's the environment, yes, there's safety, yes, there's the end user. But one of the biggest deals is protecting the single market, and that became very prevalent during Brexit. You heard it over and over again. So all the products on the European market have to comply with all these, and that keeps a level playing field from a competition point of view. So that's very important. But likewise, we have to protect the environment and we have to protect the public interest. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Mark, now. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Oh, a little bit too close there. So what's Ecodesign? If anybody knows what Ecodesign is, don't put your hands up online. Does anybody know here in the room Ecodesign or energy labeling? Anybody know of it? I can see very few, so that's good. That's why I'm here. Ecodesign is all about pushing out wasteful products off the market. What does that mean? That means that if you have a product that you have pushing up wasteful products off the market, and energy labeling is pulling in new, better products, better performing products. And how it does that, Ecodesign has updates of the regulations, and it actually sets limits and targets on energy efficiency. So that's really important. Also, what Simon said this morning about circularity, it has additionality requirements, how to repair products, and so on and so forth. But energy labeling works very well together. It's a push-pull. Energy labeling pulls consumers towards those A-rated products when we have new regulations. So in essence, the best way I can describe it here, we've got so many TVs here at this minute in time, was a couple of years ago, if you went into a retail store, you would have noticed you would have been able to purchase a brand new A-rated appliance. Nowadays, if you went in to buy that same product, that product is a G-rated. Why? Because we had an updated of the regulations. We've asked economic operators to raise the bar in terms of their standards. Don't rest on your laurels. Keep striving for energy efficiency. And what is the impact of this? The most important is about energy savings. And again, Simon mentioned about Fit for 55. So eco-design and energy labeling combined can equate up to 1/3 of our emissions target savings by 2030. So it's absolutely hugely significant. Like, as a consumer, you don't really know you're doing it by going for that A-rated product, but in a roundabout way, you're actually helping everybody save those emission targets or get to those targets as well. Also your pocket, as we know, there's a potential you can save up to 118 billion as an EU collective in terms of making sure you've got the A-rated appliance or B-rated, whatever the necessary. Because as we all know, we've had such an economic shift in terms of energy prices. You know, you can make those savings if you go for those right products. So that's a small intro into eco-design and energy labeling. I have to note, the Commission has effectively said that's on the premise that it's 100% compliant, every product that's on the market. So there is some ways and means on how we get 100% compliance. So what products does an economic operator must comply to in terms of eco-design and energy labeling? As John has mentioned, it's up to 30 different product categories for eco-design and a slightly lesser amount for energy labeling. So when we look at lighting sources, I'm looking in the room, a good example. We've got a product category, it's lighting sources. But if we look in this room or online at home, how many different light bulbs are there out there? How many different wattages? That becomes thousands and thousands and thousands of products that are on the market, that are available. Then you look at your home heating, your space heating. You have got your heat pumps, I hope. You've got your oil and gas boilers, so on and so forth. And again, the different wattages, the different appliances, again, it goes into the hundreds. And then when you combine that, it's tens and tens of thousands of products. So as John has alluded to, we're not alone, thankfully, in SEAI. I report directly to my manager, Tim Stokes, the operations manager for market surveillance. And my colleague, Dawn Stimpson, is the ITC program executive, and she works on servers, computers, and so on. And I also work alongside Elise Finador, who works on home appliances, refrigeration, and we have authorized officers, Derek, Damien, Aaron, Stephen and Juliana, and I will name them all because we do so much hard work in trying to make sure that the economic operators are playing on a level playing field. So many products, what to do? So we commissioned in 2018 a research company to carry out an analysis of the Irish market. And that was just to gain an understanding of what was being used. Domestically, pretty obvious, we all know what is used, the most energy intensive products that are out there in the domestic, but commercially we wanted a bigger picture. So as you can see in the slide there, space heating and water heating, as we all know, accounts up to, in our domestic homes, up to 2/3 of our energy usage. So that's pretty obvious and was obvious to us, but we wanted to find out about the other products because we just can't focus on 2 products. We must focus on 30 odd. And that informed us into having a strategy, as Maria has spoken about, a market surveillance strategy, a 3-year strategy, now a 5-year strategy. And that strategy is all about having possible campaigns, reactive, proactive campaigns. And an example of this is last year, this is a product that's related to construction product regulation and local space heaters, solid fuel stoves. So they have an obligation of the 1st of January 2022 to comply with eco-design rules. So we carried out a campaign last year, and a campaign consists for SEAI as screening the market. So significant amount of stoves that are out there in the market. And also looking at the different types of kilowatts and what's the most common. We then requested technical documentation checks. We are now about to commence with testing, which is the proof in the pudding. If the documentation isn't there, obviously we'll take action, and John will come on to that enforcement action. So that's the way that we are currently working towards in terms of operations of eco-design and energy labelling. It is significant. The task is huge, but thankfully we have sufficient resources. And when John talks about ESPR, we will need a lot more. So not all about campaigns. We also have regular activities. So we go to 110 retail stores, and we take a view on the energy labelling of products up to 20,000 products when we go out there. So we have authorized officers that are going out checking, giving advice to retail stores to make sure they're displaying the energy label in the correct manner. That informs the consumer to make the right choice, and we all win as a collective in all the member states. We also look at websites because they have obligations to make sure that they're putting the energy label on those products, on the products, but also they have an additional to put technical information, whether that's a declaration of conformance, slightly different to a DOP, but I won't go into it too much to bamboozle you, and other technical other requirements as well. We also look at advertisements, especially around the pinch points throughout the year. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, really important that the consumer clearly understands what the energy label is all about and making that right choice. We carry out up to 200 technical product assessments. So that's over all of the products that we would look at in any one year. We would be requesting significant technical documentation for the economic operator to provide to demonstrate compliance. And by no means that's a difficult task for a lot as we work across other member states, different languages, different interpretations. They don't know who SEAI are, but we have to be very clear in our communications with that. We also, as I said, we test annually. We test more than 20 products a year. It just depends on the campaign, how things are going. That'll make the evaluation. That's all about public procurement as well, which can be difficult to get test houses. There's nobody in Ireland that will test for eco-design and energy labelling. Hopefully that will change into the future as it is so important. We have regular meetings as well with stakeholders. That's informing them about regulatory changes, but also campaigns. So it is quite a lot of work for such a small team. We also have one-to-one meetings with economic operators if they've got queries on the regulations, or again, we would have them on the technical document assessments. Compliance guides, of course, prevention is better than cure, so we have plenty of those on the SEAI website in terms of what's new, rescaling of the energy labelling. There's significant amount of information out there as well that you can get in terms of resource on the European Commission website. And campaign reports. So this is really important. I spoke about the solid fuel local space heaters campaign, but we are just finalizing 2 campaign reports for the water pumps and also the electric motors. Those reports will be finalized. And what we're trying to communicate about those reports is the work we've carried out, the non-compliances we found, the voluntary actions taken by the economic operator, what tests have we carried out, the end of summary, and then any future updates. We believe this is vitally important to inform industry, economic operators, consumers, in terms of understanding what the obligations are what the obligations are for an economic operator. And marketing campaigns. We have Twitter in SEAI, all about the energy labeling and also the tyre labeling as well. So SEAI's approach, it is a strong emphasis on compliance promotion. Prevention is better than cure, but that is really how we need to communicate as much information now, get it to the right audience, to the right stakeholders, get everybody involved. The monitoring and deterring non-compliances, well, that's through our campaigns, our technical documents assessments. There are ways that you can comply. Sometimes economic operators are just a little bit unawares of it, and they need that little push to get them over the line in terms of voluntary actions. We engage with many stakeholders to understand not only what are their barriers, but also making them aware of any updates into the future. Technical engagements as well. When new regulations come into force, we're also there for support if an economic operator has it there. And we have partnerships nationally but also internationally, and that's through the Commission. And this is really, really important for us in terms of learning from other member states. We cannot do this on our own. We need other member states. Ireland's a part of five product work packages, sorry. Too many products, that's the problem with me. Work packages through the ePliant 3 joint action. And I'm a member of the water heaters side of things, and the water heaters, the importance there is that it's a collective of all member states. And that's like 10, 12 member states that are carrying out significant checks on the whole European market. So in essence, doing it together, absolutely, but feeding that back in, and we will have a report at the end of the year on all water heaters on the market in terms of compliance rate, laboratory testing, which will better inform them. So that's it from me. John, over to you.
Mark, thanks for that. I just point out on that previous slide there, it's 7 authorized officers. 7 authorized officers carried out all those inspections. They're a combination of online inspections and what we call bricks and mortar inspections. Excuse the pun. So there are some differences. Just pardon me here. Sorry, I've got the wrong glasses. Just before I wrap up. Just highlight some little subtle differences. I'm nearly done here. I just talk about future developments. So Ecodesign energy labeling is quite a bit different. So we have a declaration of conformity instead of a declaration of performance. It's unique in that we use regulations for each of the product categories instead of harmonized standards. Now there's still harmonized standards used in there for the testing. So we have an awful lot of regulations. We have a regulation for every product group, which is an unusual regime. I don't think it's in any other sector. And as Mark alludes to there, we're very active both in inspections and in promoting compliance. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap up now with a couple of slides. I'm just going to talk about the developments in the area. There are a lot of things going on in eco-design energy labeling. You know, we've got, as I said, we've just officially become the Market Surveillance Authority. We're continuously updating regulations for each of the different sectors, like you would update a harmonized standard. There's a lot of work in that. And I'm going to talk now about the ESPR. ESPR is the Environmental Sustainability Products Regulations, which is basically a upgrade to the Ecodesign Directive of 2009. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it has major implications for us in SEAI because it expands that product group considerably, has the potential to expand it exponentially. But it also includes more things to check, more aspects of products to check, and there's definitely overlap with construction products. I know some of the planned delegated acts or implementing acts that are going to come after ESPR will relate to products that are covered by construction as well, construction products. So the ESPR is introducing a lot more aspects to check above and beyond energy efficiency, emissions, and spare parts and other stuff. So there's all sorts of categories to check, like reusability, maintainability, all sort of sustainable characters. So it has a massive implication for us, but there are some horizontal considerations in there as well, which will affect us all. Now, these considerations will, I believe, be transposed into all the sectors, including construction products. So first of all, there's a provision in there for, we talked about QR codes and digitally accessible materials and paper. There's provisions in there for what's called a digital product passport, which is essentially, in layman's terms, every product will have a couple of QR codes on it. And in theory, that QR code can then be used by the Market Surveillance Authority to access the technical file, the declaration of conformity, declaration of performance, test reports, and so on. And the QR code can also be used for customs when it lands in Dublin Port, but it can also be used by the end user to get their hands on the manual and so on. Thankfully, there's still requirements to have the actual markings indelibly marked on the product as well. That's staying, so the manufacturer's name and address needs to still be on it. The CE mark followed by the notified body, if applicable, and also, an importer's name and address where it's applicable. So that's a major development in terms of it should speeden up the formal compliance checks and the technical compliance checks of the Market Surveillance Authority. So we shouldn't have to ask for the documents. They should already be there somewhere in the ether or in the cloud. We just scan this QR code and up they pop. Another provision in there, we talked about RAPEXs and we talked about ICSMS there. which is near and dear to us. Technically, a RAPEX should really only, under Article 19 and 20, a RAPEX should really technically only be issued for something that presents serious risk. Now, as you probably know, a lot of member states and MSAs issue a RAPEX for everything, just for information. So, so the ESPR is proposed in Article 19 and Article 20 apply in a situation where you just have non-compliance, okay, which is probably fair enough. So any non-compliant product will generate a RAPEX, regardless of the risk level. So that's a proposal in there. And we've been interacting with DETI, or the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, about this. And again, our suggestion there has been that we feel that's something that should be done horizontally, not just an eco-design, okay? There's more provisions there. I'm not sure about construction products, but the areas we work in, a lot of products now are appearing online. It was said there earlier, a lot of stuff you can buy it online. And we have provisions in MSR 2019-1020 where we can ask an online interface to take a product down, but we can only ask it if it presents serious risk, in theory. All right, so what's serious risk? But anyway, so and we can go to the information society provider as well behind that if we don't have any joy. So there's a proposal there again to give us powers to take anything down that's non-compliant, okay, and give us the powers to do that. So there's a lot of developments there, and again, I suppose change in terminology as well. It's moved forward. I mean, in the past we've had terms like end user, consumer, professional user. It seems they're encompassing all that in one word, customer. Customer seems to be the new word. And again, I assume at some stage that'll be transposed horizontally across all the sectors, all 70 sectors covered by MSR 2019-1020. So a lot going on there, and there are weekly changes to that. And like I said, I've seen a list. The first products proposed to be for acts to be produced under the SPR will definitely have a construction product dimension. Okay. I was asked just to talk a little bit about enforcement and what happens. Obviously, we're new as a market surveillance authority, but what I was proposing, I'll just have a quick look at our powers. Essentially, our powers are the same as you guys here in the rest of the room. They're significant powers. Other than the powers of arrest, we can pretty much do anything. We can enter a premises without a warrant. We can take samples free of charge. We can examine people, take statements. We can take documents, and we can direct things be left undisturbed, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of powers there that need to be used responsibly. We can take actions. We can issue warning measures, compliance directions. We can have products withdrawn and recalled. And the good news is there, we don't have to get the minister involved. I know you guys do. We can do that without the minister. And likewise, as well, as we have powers to examine and take samples and evidence, we can prepare prosecution files. Now, we haven't done that. There's a question there earlier about has any MSA in Ireland taken a prosecution? I don't believe they have, but I know there are MSAs that have served enforcement notices, to withdraw or recall. We have no provisions in our legislation to publish any of these things. I know there are other MSAs that do. So at this moment in time, any enforcement we do is under the radar, so no one will see it. So that's pretty much it. And again, I just wanted to thank Mairead for inviting us down here to say hello. I know we'll probably be talking to construction products authorized officers in the future, because as I said, there are products in there that are common to both of us. And who knows, down the road, perhaps we might do something together. So thanks very much.